I'm talking about tonight is the issue of church and politics. Now, when speaking about religion, we usually have a lot of division amongst each other. Now, trying to combine the topic of religion and politics together, you're probably going to have an all-out war. So without trying to get into a war tonight, I'm going to try to present my own position on the issue of the relationship of church and state. So my basic thesis is that since the state and the church are two distinct institutions with two distinct roles, the church and the state should be kept separate on that basis. In other words, the church has a distinct role and the state has a distinct role. The job of the church is not to do the job of the state likewise. So as a Christian and as a person who goes to a religious institution, to a church, and also to a college, I've had my share of debates when it comes to the relationship between faith and culture, or faith and politics. So, since all of us live in the United States, which is filled with politics and religion, we see the power play between church and state. Whether you be a Christian conservative, or you be a Christian liberal, or you be a non-Christian, or whatever, we all have to deal with this issue. So, three major views that Dave Van Drunen of Westminster Theological Seminary, he's a philosopher out there, he talks about the first view. The first view is that the church needs to take over the institution of the state. The second view is that believers need to retreat from culture. They need to stay away from it. The third position is that believers need to belong to the state and the institution of the church so that believers can take on these dual roles. Historically, we can look at examples of the problems of church and state. Some of the problems have historically been with the power of the church in the West. We can look at the papacy, for example. We looked at Gregory Gregory VII was able to humble the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, and Innocent was also powerful enough to force rulers to rising nations to do his own will. So the church, even from the earliest years, was influencing the state and having power of the state and telling the state what to do. We can also look at problems such as the Spanish Inquisition. You're seeing the state acting as the institution of the church, saying that, look, you need to repent of your heresy. You need to repent of your disbelief in the church. If not, then you receive the sword. Now, besides the recent problems, besides the extreme issues of the church and state, we look at other recent problems: prayer in public schools, public school curriculum, evolution versus creation debate, religious service in secular systems. Just locally in Loudoun County, there is a big issue of religious symbols in public settings. Loudoun County maintains the use of religious unintended displays on these grounds, and quite frankly, religious people went crazy over this whole issue because of this debate with atheist groups. According to Van Drunen, this is what he says: since all believers of all religions and non-believers alike all have a commonality as being members of the state, politics should be governed by those things which are common and natural to us all. So this is the solution to this tension. We need to look for commonality with those who we disagree with, even when it comes with our beliefs. In other words, the state should be governed by natural law reasons and not religious reasons. Things we can agree on, things that we all agree on, is freedom of religion, practicing our own religion according to our own conscience. Some of us may be Muslims, some of us may be Jewish, some of us may be Christians, but we all value the freedom of religion, and this is part. We valued it so much. It's in our Constitution, in our First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So this is something that we take very seriously as Americans. We can look at Jefferson's quote. It's a very long quote. I'll try to sum it up here. It shouldn't be our interest if you're a believer, it shouldn't be our interest of religion to invite others, to invite the state to be doing the function of the church, and likewise, because this can bring tyranny. There's also common denominators that we can have with one another. We all favor safety. We favor justice. We favor reason. We all want to know why we do what we do. What are the reasons? You know, the Bible or religious textbooks don't tell us to stop at a red light or to stop at a green light. These are common things that we all agree on, but these are not dictated by religion. There's also happiness. We all want to be happy. We want to strive to be happy. There's also freedom. Freedom of belief, freedom of philosophy, whatever belief that you have. So, the benefits of separation. The church keeps its unique role as a spiritual institution. That means it does what it does best. Rather than acting as an institution of the church, it acts as a spiritual God for believers. The state also keeps its unique position as a secular institution which protects freedom, happiness, and liberty. Those things that we all love and hold dear. People are allowed to worship according to the dictates of their own conscience. This is also another benefit. Instead of being polarizing toward those whom we disagree with, we can find commonality with one another. So the conclusion, after considering the relationship between the church and the state, we conclude that it's better to keep the institutions separated rather than mixed. Considering the relationship of the church and state, we should have seen the pitfalls that have been made by two institutions when they're mixed together. I end with a quote by Thomas Jefferson. No provision in our Constitution ought to be dearer to man than that which protects the rights of conscience against the power of its public functionaries. Were it possible that any of these should consider a conquest over the conscience of men, either attainable or applicable to any desirable purpose. Thank you.